Well, what is up? Welcome to the Better Opportunities Workshop. My name is Tommy, and I'm joined by the wonderful Taylor Hunt tonight.
What's up?
We are talking about better opportunities. We've been in this series of workshops called the Better For It workshops. We've been looking as a church and just as people in our country and world even going through this crazy year that we have been in. We've been asking the question, how instead of being broken by this, can we be better for it, more resilient and more ready for what comes around the corner next? So each week we've been taking the topic at hand on Sunday and taking a deep dive into a single practical tool that we can use to put this stuff into practice in a really meaningful and hopefully life-changing way, and hopefully a simple way at that. So make sure you download the workshop or the workshop worksheet that we have for tonight. We're talking about a tool called S.H.A.P.E. You can be registered. You can register at the link below, missionventura.com/better. If you've already registered, just head to your dashboard. You can watch past workshops there and get access to all the tools that we've done so far and the next one as well. But make sure you got that in hand so you can work through it. And then also make sure to share this with a friend or make sure to go through this with somebody. Just want to keep encouraging that, because the only way we really make progress and change in our lives is when we have the right support and accountability. So make sure you're going through this with people that are in your world also. So Taylor, brought you on because you actually just did this recently with mission students, talked about S.H.A.P.E, this tool that we're going to talk about. And on the weekend, Mike talked a lot about this idea of like, what's in your hand? We've all been given something that we get to use because we've all been called to have this impact on the world and have this kind of meaningful and significant life and influence. And S.H.A.P.E was the perfect tool for that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about why we need it and then what it is, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah. Oh man, it's been such a helpful tool for me. S.H.A.P.E is just an acrostic that a guy named Rick Warren came up with a while ago. And maybe if you're like me, there's been times whenever I've been sitting in church or at a service, and they say something like, you were created on purpose for a purpose, or like, God has a unique call for each and every one of you. And I've been sitting there and I kind of feel like, well, if everyone's unique, then is nobody unique? Like, are we all a snowflake and we've all got these intricate things? And so I've unintentionally sidelined myself in different seasons because I felt like, well, that just can't be true for me. Like, that must not be a thing where I can have this unique purpose. And then there's been other times in my life where I've kind of sidelined myself from maybe a calling God has for me because it's like, well, I'm just showing up to church and it's almost like a sports thing where it's like, well, there are super Christians who are out there that they've laced up their shoes and they're going to be on the field. And so I'm going to sit on the sidelines and watch them perform or watch them use their gifts. And that's what God's kingdom work or like using our S.H.A.P.E and living for him really looks like. It's like watching your favorite celebrities play sports or something. It's like, oh man, Mike Hickerson had a great teaching or Jim did awesome an announcement. It's like, that's not what it looks like at all to be in S.H.A.P.E and to get in the game for the kingdom. And so this has been super helpful and super freeing for me to know like how I actually am uniquely wired and how there is stuff that God has created and called me to do that only I can do. Like, there are things that you can do that I can't do. Like, there are things that like each and every one of us, like God loves to use the right person at the right time for his right purposes. And that's for each and every one of us. Like, we all want to have those moments where it's like, dude, I was made to do this. Like, to have that adrenaline rush thrill ride where it's like, this is exactly what I was created to do. And like, God actually has those things for us. And so S.H.A.P.E has really helped me figure out, what should I do? Like, what do I bring to the table? Like, when should I say yes to things? When should I say no to things? And even has helped me figure out how to like get in shape. So that way I can bring like my best full self to an opportunity instead of being out of shape and kind of leaning out. So we're just going to kind of walk through that acrostic. And so the first one is S. It stands for spiritual gifts. And sometimes it's been interesting talking about this in church, and it's almost like, what does that even mean? And spiritual gifts are just gifts that God has given his people for his purposes. And so it even talks about it in 1 Corinthians. In 1 Corinthians, we're going to read 1 Corinthians 12 and then a couple other verses. In 1 Corinthians 12:7, it says, a spiritual gift is given to each of us so that we can help each other. And then in verse 12, it says, the human body has many parts, but the many parts make up one whole body. So it is with the body of Christ. Yes, the body has many different parts, not just one part. But if the foot says, I'm not a part of the body because I'm not a hand, that doesn't make it any less part of the body. And if the ear says, I'm not a part of the body because I'm not an eye, would that make it any less a part of the body? Like, if the whole body were an eye, how would you hear? Like, we need everybody. If your whole body were an ear, how would you smell anything? But if our bodies have many parts and God has put each part just where he wants it, how strange a body would be if it only had one part. Yes, there are many parts, but only one body. The eye can never say to a hand, I don't need you. The head can't say to the feet, I don't need you. And it's this funny like illustration that we hear and we think like, oh, that's funny. He's using a body. But literally it's like, if I didn't have a foot, I could not walk around. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm gifted to speak or something.
Right.
If I can't go to the place, like we need every part of the body. Or we were talking earlier, it's like, if I lost a finger, that would really hurt. But if I got stabbed in the heart, like I'm gonna die. But you can't see my heart. Like every part has a place to play and has a role in the body. And so one of the things for gifts that we just want to talk about is like, a gift doesn't equal importance. Like just because your gift means that you're in front of people or you're seen, it doesn't make you more important than anything else. Like the heart, I think, is probably the most important part of the body. The brain is one of the most important parts of our body, and yet you don't ever see it. So gift doesn't equal importance. And even the spiritual gifts that are kind of listed in the Bible, we're just going to run through a bunch of them. There's a great test that I highly, highly recommend taking. It's even linked.
Yeah, so it's on the worksheet. The examples of it are all on your worksheet. And then also, you can take the assessment. It's an assessment made by a church called North Point. They were working in tandem with somebody else also. And so we got a link on your workshop dashboard, which is if you're registered and you got this worksheet, that's right there. There'll be a big link to go take that test. It's a video test. It's like 40 questions, takes 10 minutes, and it's super straightforward and easy. And then you get to see what your top gifts are. And I think it's super helpful. And not even maybe to do that, but do it, again, accountability and support. You got somebody else going through it. That way you can even just kind of slide this over and be like, can you read these and tell me what you see in me? That's a pretty vulnerable question, honestly, but it'll be very eye-opening because a lot of times, we can look at some of these and go like, oh, well, that can't be me. And somebody else is like, that's absolutely you. Like, are you sure? Yeah, of course. Like, so to be able to speak that into somebody else's life too is really helpful.
Yeah, that's cool.
So this is a really cool journey to go on.
Yeah, and we just did it with some of our students, and it was awesome to see them walk into a room having taken this test and be like, look what it said about me. Like, I've always thought that I was good at this, and that's what the test said. And there's just something about that kind of self-discovery and seeing like, man, this is what it says. And this isn't like the test that's like, which office character are you or anything like that. Like, that's not it at all.
Important also.
I mean, that is important, but this is like a
gift
gift that God has given you. And so even just want to read through some of the list of them. And we've kind of made up, it was helpful for students, maybe be helpful for you too, like making up some different names to go along with the gifts just to help us kind of understand them. But one is the gift of administration. These are like the get stuff done people. Like these are the doers. Another one is the gift of evangelism. So this is like the inviter, the person who just wants to invite everybody all the time to church or to whatever they're doing. Another one is exhortation. This is like the hype man. It's like every good person needs a hype man, someone who's just encouraging you, who's in your corner, who's on your side. Another one is giving. So this would be like the money maker and the donation sensation, where it's like you're just naturally gifted at making money. Another one would be hospitality, which we said was like the best barista, or like the Cheers bartender, where it's like I know everybody's name. Another one would be leadership. So this would be like the captain. This is the person who's like setting the chart of this is the direction we're going to head in. Another one would be mercy. This is like we said, the shoulder to cry on. Another one would be pastoring, which would be like the tour guide of life, or like the life coach. Another would be serving. This is the helper. Another one would be teaching. This is like a life and Bible scientist. And then the last one is wisdom. And this is like the wise guy. You're the person that everybody's coming to find advice from you. And there's other gifts that are listed in the Bible. But this is just what that test kind of brings out and reveals. And it's just cool to get to see like, what is a gift God has given me? But also the truth is like gifts don't equal good. Like just because you're gifted at something doesn't always mean you're naturally good at it. Like one of my friends, he's gifted in communicating. He's a like awesome communicator. And I remember one of the first times he did it when we were in high school, he was up in front of like on a stage in front of a bunch of people, was super nervous. Half of the students had fallen asleep. And then he was messing with a music stand, pulled the music stand up and jacked himself in the face during his teaching. But if you saw him now, he's a great communicator, and people would be like, oh, he's so gifted at that. Like clearly that's his gift. Right. But it's like he's worked behind the scenes and put in hours and hours of practice. There was that basketball player that's like, we're here, we want to talk about practice, a long time ago. And it's like, practice is what makes gifts good. And so sometimes we do damage to ourselves when we think a gift means, well, I'm naturally just like good at this. Like you're probably a little bit better, but I think gifting really is like, I want to put the reps in to be good at something.
Right. I want to go to the gym because I have a natural disposition toward this thing. And so I'm going to do all the work to go for it. And honestly, the reality is too, like the most meaningful stuff in life comes from putting the work in. And so at that point, God's not just going to hand us this stuff on a silver platter. He's going to say, I'm going to put the dream in you and the desire in you and the passion to go put in all the work and to fall on your face a few times, because that's going to make you great at it. And it's going to mean you want to do the work.
Yeah.
And
it's going to make you
case, yeah.
humble. And something we talk about a lot is like humility is the soil that all gifts grow in. Like humility isn't lifted as a spiritual gift. And so that doesn't mean like, well, I just don't have the gift of humility, so I don't have to be humble. No,
Not a
humility
gift. Command.
Humility is what you do. Like the gifting is what God has given you. And so you be humble and then use that gift and then let God control the rest of it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great. I love the thing about spiritual gifts too, even something that we talked about beforehand, was the gifts are not something that you only do in the church, and they're not something you only do out there. And they're not like, gifts don't have a shelf life. A gift is yours forever. It's given to you by God. It's not like, I'm good at basketball. It's not a spiritual gift. That's something we'll get to later. A spiritual gift is a thing that God's given you in the deepest parts of you. It's like, I bring that into every situation. I bring my exhorter, the hype man, was it, right?
The hype man.
The encourager. I bring that to the basketball court. I bring that to work. I bring that to the checkout line at the store, even though we're not really allowed to talk to people anymore at checkout lines or anywhere. But like, that's the idea, is that you bring it every place you go. And that's where humility comes into play, because sometimes a gift means you're on the stage talking to people, and that's great, but spotlights burn. So this is a dangerous place too. And sometimes your gift lands you in the back room organizing the event that somebody else gets to go enjoy, but no, you don't get the credit. But like, that's hard too, but each one is just as necessary. And so it's all about the humility, and it's so good.
That's even like one of the things I've been doing in COVID is doing a lot of woodworking projects and different things. And I've got like 2 or 3 tools that I use the most, like my drill, a saw, and then I've got like a angle thing that I use a lot. And it's like, I bring those tools with me into any project that I'm working on. It doesn't matter what the project is. Like, those are the ways that I get the project done. And that's what our gifts are. Like, wherever we're into, whether it's our family, whether it's our work, whether it's a basketball team, like, we bring those gifts with us. Like, it makes me think my dad worked at American Airlines for 30 years, and he's got like the gift of pastoring and hospitality. And he would use that leading a team there at American Airlines. Well, now he's a school bus driver of elementary school kids, and he does the same gift. Like, he brings that same gift to the table, but in a totally different context, where he's got this bus full of kids and he's learning all of their names and asking them questions and getting to know their families. And then also like helping them figure out like life and what it looks like to be an elementary kid, like, which is pretty awesome.
So we've got this spiritual gifts assessment on the dashboard. You can take that. I'd highly recommend a deep dive into this one. That's why we kind of even spent more time on this one, just because it's right there. We got this great test for it. It's 10 minutes of your time extra, and it is so worth it. So we're going to move on to the next ones too. We don't have a deep dive on everything, luckily, because that'd just be a lot of stuff. We have it. We're just not going to give it to you. But so next thing on the list, we move from spiritual gifts to H, which is heartbeat. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what heartbeat means, why it's important? Yeah,
heartbeat is really just kind of like what gets my heart beating. Like, there's a lot of good questions around like, what are you passionate about? What do you wish that you could improve or fix? A lot of times for heartbeat, it's even like whenever you're by yourself and your mind has freedom to roam, like, what do you think about? Where do your thoughts just naturally drift to? You know, I was hanging out with some people a couple weeks ago, and a kid was telling me about how he loves music and he thinks about music all the time. And that's just not me. Another kid was talking about how he thinks about fashion all the time. And that's not me. I've got a friend who, like, his dream and what he wishes he could do and spends all his time thinking about is farming in Kansas. And I'm like, that sounds terrible to me, but that's what they love and what their heart beats about. And if I told them I spent my time thinking about like communicating or teaching in like a church, they'd be like, that sounds terrible to me. You know, it's like, what breaks your heart? Like, what gets your heart beating? I love this quote by a guy named Frederick Buechner. He says, calling is when our deep gladness meets the world's deep need. So like that thing that just brings me joy, that gets my heart pumping, like what my heartbeat is whenever that thing aligns with what the world really needs. And so heartbeat isn't just like, what do I like and what do I enjoy? But there's a part of it too, as followers of Jesus, that's like, where does my heartbeat align with God's heartbeat? So like, what are things that breaks God's heart? Like, what are injustices that I really care about? And God's heart always breaks for people. So how do I use what I care about and what God's cares about to help people? So like, I've got a friend who loves horses. And so she started using horses for horse therapy to help teenagers. I've got another friend who really loves like writing. And so they want to one day write and be able to write short stories that help kids understand like the truth of like God's love for them. And it's like, that's an amazing way to take like what your heart beats for and what God's heart beats for and to use it to meet the world's deep need.
I love that intersection. And that's one of the reasons, honestly, why we make these into worksheets and why I want you to print them out. There's something about the exercise of not just doing the spiritual gifts test, but writing the things down, even writing down, like taking 5, 7, 10 minutes to go, what do I think about all the time? What are the actual answers to these questions? And then just start circling things like that might break God's heart too. God might care about that. And like, does God care about my love of smartphone advancements? Maybe not. Maybe there's a path I can take to something about helping.
He cares for connecting people.
But he does care about that. So where does it actually intersect? I think doing the work on a piece of paper, like working through these things really practically and in front of you, I think it's super helpful. And so I love that. Spiritual gifts, we got heartbeat, and that moves us to ability. Tell us a bit about ability.
Ability. So ability is just like, what am I naturally good at? Like, what are just things that I do? And it just seems like I'm just a little bit better than other people at it. It makes me think for Valentine's Day, my wife and I, we did like a stay-home date, and we did a Bob Ross painting, which I had never done before. Oh. She did wonderfully. By the end of it, I had started painting on my canvas one way. It actually looked better by the end with it flipped upside down and looked more like the picture that he was doing whenever I switched it than how I actually started doing it.
That's a special kind of painting.
Yeah, it is a special painting, and I will not keep it ever. Yeah. But it's like, I'm just not naturally good at that. Like, I am not naturally artistic. My handwriting has looked like a 4th grader since I was in like 7th grade. Like, those are things that I'm not naturally good at. And so maybe it's not the best use of my life to spend my time trying to be good at those things. But there are other things that I've got a natural ability at that's like, hey, this is what you could do. But ability also is not your gift. And it's been helpful even for me, a differentiation where it's like, sometimes we can get our whole lives wrapped up into my abilities or the thing that I do, where you're the guy that played football in high school and you're 40 years old and you're still talking about football in high school because you thought your gift was being a quarterback. That wasn't your gift. That was your ability. That was something you did. Your ability was being a leader on the team. It was leadership. It was being an exhorter, like encouraging your teammates. And so the ability is what you do. And that can change throughout your season of life and even change all throughout your life. But that's a little bit of ability, just things that you're naturally gifted at, naturally good at, things that you really care about.
Yeah, that's great. So spiritual gifts, heartbeat, our abilities, and then our personality. This is another potential deep dive, and we won't go all the way there. But tell us a bit about personality, why it matters, why it's such a big part of finding our shape and impact on it.
Yeah, personality. It's just all about the way that you are wired. Like if you try to fit into a mold that you think you're supposed to fit into, that's not helpful. That's hurtful. And it can be damaging. Like if you're spending your whole time thinking, well, I wish I was more like him or her and comparing myself with other people, instead of being like, no, this is the way that I am and the way that I'm wired. Like you're going to miss out on the opportunities that God has for you when you're worried about the opportunities God has for them. And you wouldn't enjoy those opportunities anyway. So personality really is a lot of just different questions of figuring out the way that you're wired. So it's like, are you introverted or extroverted? Are you a planner or are you planless? Are you spontaneous or are you structured? Do you want to take charge and be in the front seat, or are you more relaxed and you want to be in the back seat? Like, are you just along for the ride, or do you want to help chart the course? Like, are you dominant when you walk into a room, or do you just want to be invisible? Do you love meeting new people, or do you wish you didn't have to meet new people? Which sounds bad to say, but it's like, that's the way that we're wired. And there's a lot of great personality tests that you can take. And I would say, like, take them all. Like, it's so helpful to get this better picture of who we are and who God has designed us uniquely to be.
Yeah. Even when you start taking some of those tests, you start to realize, what is my wiring and even where are my wounds, right? So if I'm scared of people, part of it can be wiring, and part of it you realize, well, I was hurt by people, and so I don't want to go back to people. And so you can even start to sort of understand, like, there's personality is literally all good. You have natural weaknesses in personality and temperament, but it's all good, and it's all designed by God. The whole system is. Introverts and extroverts have no different value in the kingdom of God. Sometimes I make jokes. I'm like, oh, you're such a high-functioning introvert. That's because I'm an extrovert, and I think that how I am is how everybody should be, right? That's not how it is. Mm-hmm. Introverts are just different than extroverts, and it's all good. But people who've been hurt by people and have wounds there and don't want to be vulnerable with anybody, that's a wound that needs healing, and that's a lot different. But taking all these different tests, start to realize the goodness of our personality and accept it and own it and lean into the strengths, because there are natural strengths as a, for example, the temperaments that we have in your worksheet. There are these 4 temperaments, and there's sort of one of the ways you can look at personality. Even they differentiate between temperament and personality. This is like your innate wiring. We got a link to a test that you could take. It's actually only 8 questions long, which is awesome. And it'll tell you what your primary and secondary temperaments are. But there are these 4 types, and it's like, I'm yellow, I'm sanguine. You don't have to know what that means yet, but you look through them. I will just never be red or blue. I just will never be red or blue. I can act like a red or blue, but I'm never going to be that way, which is why even personality, one of the things we talked about earlier was that I can be in a red or blue type job or a position for a while. I can do those things, but that's going to lead to burnout because it's not my shape. I can do it because I'm humble and I'll do it if it's the right thing to do, but it's not going to be my maximum impact and also maximum gladness long term. So it's helpful to know.
Yeah, I know. Whenever you find that job or that thing that's like in your shape, that's whenever the joy, like the gladness that I feel meets the world's deep need. Whenever you find a job that's out of your shape, that's when you're like, I am burning out and I don't want to do this. And it's even like the verse we read at the beginning. It's like the body has many parts and we need each and every part. There's many personality types and we need each and every personality type. Like I love connecting, engaging with people, and I would probably be more people-oriented than task-oriented. My wife is probably more task-oriented than people-oriented. So we make a great team when people come over, because if we didn't have each other, she would like be seeing all the tasks and not the people, and I would have a bunch of people over, but there would be no food. Yeah, there'd be no food. There would be no environment. Like it would just be a train wreck. So it's like we need everybody. Yeah. But the last thing on S.H.A.P.E, the E is just your experiences. And so that's like, what have you gone through in life? And the truth is, usually we try to do 2 things. We try to like recreate good experiences, or we also try to recycle bad experiences. And those are usually some of the most powerful experiences that will form our shape and send us in a direction. It's kind of the trash in life that's thrown on us, as cheesy as it sounds. Like you can choose whether you throw it in the garbage and the dump, or just dump it on your life and carry it around with you, or you can choose whether that trash gets recycled and you let God use that to help other people. And I mean, who better to help someone who's navigating marriage issues and on the verge of divorce than another couple that had navigated marriage issues and was on the verge of divorce? Like who better to reach out to a family who doesn't know how to interact and engage their foster kid than another family who has been on the path of interacting and engaging foster kids? Like who better to help an alcoholic than an alcoholic? Who better to help someone who's addicted to porn than someone that's addicted to porn? Like God wants to reuse and recycle the painful moments that we have. And even a lot of times I get to see this up close with leaders that want to jump in with mission students where they maybe had a really helpful experience in high school, and they're like, man, I want to be a leader because I had some great leaders whenever I was in high school, and I want to be that for somebody else. Or it's the opposite, where it's like, man, when I was in high school, I felt alone. I felt like no one saw me. And so I want to help create that experience for someone else so that nobody has to feel or experience what I felt. So that's kind of experiences. I think I've heard Rick Warren say, like, God never wastes a hurt, and like wants to reuse our hurt in order to help other people. So that's kind of what experiences is.
So that's our S.H.A.P.E. Spiritual gifts, heartbeat, ability, personality, experiences, all these things. We do this big, giant, deep dive. What in the world do I do with that? Just in a minute, as we wrap this up, like, what do I do next? Finding my shape is really important. But what's the next step I take after that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of was funny thinking about it earlier today. Even like we can find our shape and we want to get in shape, and just like a workout routine or something, it's like, okay, well, I've got the plan and now I just sit back. It's like, no, you need to go to the gym. And so if you're feeling out of shape, now you've got the plan to get in shape. Now go to the gym and work on your shape, like work it out, practice it. And even here at Mission, what we talk about a lot is wanting to help equip and train people, not only for here, like at Mission, but also there, like in your mission field where you live, work, and play. And so I would say, just say yes, like just say yes to something and start working out and living out your shape in order to figure out the way that God has uniquely wired you, because it really is like there is a way, like something that He has called you specifically to do. I've got a friend who she grew up in foster care, and when she was a little girl, like her mom would be gone for like 2 weeks at a time, and she was telling me that like she remembers sitting in seats with other foster care workers, and they were sitting there talking to her, this little girl, and they were trying to relate with her, but she's like, you don't relate to my situation. Like, you have no idea what I'm going through. Well, now she's in college, and man, the one thing that she wants to do with her life is to be a foster care worker and to be able to relate with other people and to be able to be on the other side of that desk and say, I know what you're going through and I want to walk with you. Like, that's using your shape, and that's being the right person at the right time for God's right purposes. And that's what your shape can let you do, to have that work where it's like, man, I was created to do this. I'm like, this is exactly what I'm supposed to do with my life. So.
Yeah. And even if it's not the big thing, right? Even if it's not the big life direction that I finally figured out, and now I know exactly what I want to do with my vocation or my big lasting legacy and impact, it's like, we'll take one step. And really even the last filter we put on it was, how does my shape equip me to make people's lives better physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? Like if I could do one of those things, that's a good day. And if I can do something and I say, well, how can I help make people's lives better physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually? Like, do one of those things. That's a really good place to start. And everything starts to come into focus once I start down that path. And so pick one of those arenas, look at your shape, and just keep your eyes open too. That's kind of the end of it, is once we know what we're looking for also. So Taylor, any last words before we head out, or just find your shape?
Get in shape. I don't know. I think that's it. Yeah.
Head to the gym, right? Start working it out.
It is. It's so helpful to be like, this is why I was created. You know, you were created on purpose for a purpose. And I think shape helps us really be able to see that. So whenever I find work where my deep joy meets the world's deep need, like that is where my calling lies. And so that would be just my challenge, is like, let's figure out where that is and what that is. So that way we can bring the best shape that we can to people who need us, and only us, because we're God's right person at the right time for his big purpose.
Love it. Well, thanks for being a part of this. Thank you for being a part of this. Make sure you get your worksheet downloaded, get access to the past workshops and the last one coming out next week, which will be on a better future. And actually, Taylor, you're teaching this week, this next week, which is going to be awesome. And a special thing that we threw on the workshop page too is a link and some more information about something else happening this week at Mission, which is a worship night really centered around grief and lament. Actually, I know that sounds pretty like a left turn, but at the same time, when we're processing those experiences, one of the ways things get recycled is when we actually grieve them well. And so that's a great resource as well as you're working through this. So glad you jumped into this, and we can't wait to see you next time for the last one. Have a great week.